Hello, welcome to the studio. So today I've decided to go on my series of the Beatles. I'm going to work on Ringo, and I'm going to work with colors. So the way I do it is, you have my palette on the right lower side of the video, and the image I'm working from on the upper left corner. So basically the image of Ringo is on my TV set, so it's on my left side, and I have my palette on the right side. You're kind of used to it now, the way I start working, really large brush, and I'm just putting things together really quickly, just trying to establish a little bit, the large composition. So for now, I'm just, having fun with the colors. So I mixed a little bit of orange and black. I'm sorry, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm just checking on the video to make sure everything is recording. It's a voiceover, as usual as well. The reason why I do voiceover like this, it's easier for me because, talking while I'm painting is not easy, as I need to really focus. So if you've seen the black and white, and the color is a little bit more challenging in the way that, of course, there's more elements to take in consideration. We're not only talking about, clarity and contrast. Now we're also talking about colors. Don't feel any pressure right now. Just, paint with a large brush and just have fun. Just, the painting is pretty simple. I talked about negative space earlier as well. So basically, I'm going to try to re-explain a little bit about that. When I choose the image on Photoshop, I use, editing softwares in order to create those images. So when I worked on the photo of Ringo, what I did, I pretty much made the size of the image in the same proportion in my canvas. The reason why I do that is because the negative space we see, which is particularly in that painting, the yellow around his head, it's going to give me as well information about the size of his head and so on. If the model was in my studio, just sitting on a chair with a total, neutral background or even yellow background, I would have to, I'm used to it, so it would not change a lot of things for me. But feel free to use that negative space, the shape of that yellow, the size of those yellow, to help you to create the right size of the face and to locate everything the same. So, when I start painting like this, as you can see, I'm also using my, the clothes I have in my left hand, where I wipe my brushes to even, wipe off some of the paintings when I feel they're wrong on the canvas. So I just dip it a little bit in the turpentine and just clean a little bit of the canvas. So the mental grid I'm putting together is, for example, I have the size of the original image. So if I do an horizontal on the eyes, I can scale them. I can scale the elevation of the eye regard to the size of the canvas. So it gives me indication about mapping that portrait. So, for example, where's the tip of the nose? The tip of the nose is pretty much in the center of the canvas, just a bit lower. And so everything is the same. I'm trying to locate every particular point on the canvas. So right now, I don't care about figuration. I don't care if I'm painting a portrait, a landscape, or a still life, or whatever. Right now, all I'm doing is locating the big mass, the big volume of colors, the darkness, and so on, and just putting them where they should be. So far, I'm not at all actually into the details. I'm just trying to, get closer and closer to the right composition. So as you can see, my palette, that's me in the painting. Sometimes it happens. Not in the painting, but on the screen. So as you can tell, my palette is, if you watch my color theory video, I already explained the reason my palette is displayed this way. So I have the white and the black on both sides of it's like a little bit of a color wheel, but it's open. It's not like a full circle. It's just half a circle around the palette. So I go from the white to the yellow, the orange, the red, ultramarine, cyan blue, and green. So basically, it's like a rainbow. The reason I do that, if the color side by side mix a little bit, it's no big deal. If green mix a little bit of blue, it doesn't really, going to affect that much the colors. While if I was putting the blue close to the orange, just a tiny bit of blue in the orange would desaturate the orange, would make the orange dirty. So you see, I'm having fun painting. It's really important for you to have fun. There's something really important. People love to watch the result of something where they know people had a good time to do it. I really don't want you to feel a lot of pressure. I want you to feel free and to feel, like you're going on a trip to discover something on the canvas. The viewer will feel that. So if you struggle, if you sweat, if you do a painting and it's a painful process for you, the viewer, the person who's going to look at your painting is going to feel it. So I really want you to focus on just having fun. Just don't try hard. Just let yourself go. Of course, you're going to make mistakes. Of course, the colors are not going to be at the right place. It's not going to be perfect and so on right away. Doesn't matter. It's not only doesn't matter. It's just impossible to right away come up with the sometimes I dream I would have a magic brush that would just cover the surface and just end up doing the right thing. No, the process is actually what's interesting. So don't feel any pressure. Just, mix your colors, orange, green, blue, whatever, and just paint freely. So the little liquid you're seeing, I mean, the medium you're seeing on the palette, I add that medium to the colors in order for the colors to dry faster. I don't have to do it. Like, for example, if I was working on that painting like every other week, I would not have to put medium. But, the way I work is that I work, today I'm going to start the painting and tomorrow I will work on it again and so on and so on. And I'm actually working on the 4 portraits of the Beatles. So like I did with the black and white series, I did the same thing with this one. So I stretched 4 canvases and this is the first one I'm working on. So I know I'm going to work for a little bit. I don't want to work too much. I already said, in some of the paintings, if I start getting tired or, I don't see what I can do anymore, or just the matter on the canvas is too fresh, I cannot do anything anymore, I will stop. I don't have to work. You don't have to work for hours and hours and hours. Mostly because it's a small canvas. Of course, if I was working on a really large scale canvas, which I will do, and I will show you how I do that, I could work for several hours on the same canvas. On this one, I can, because simply the canvas is too small. So if I paint over those beautiful red, that on the left, if I do it right now, I'm going to work in the fresh paint. So it's going to be difficult to control. So I'm just going to outline the painting. I'm going to sketch it today, and I will let it dry and walk away and come back tomorrow. So you see right now, it doesn't really look like Ringo, I must say. I'm so sorry for him, but eventually maybe. So the process is about looking for the likeness and looking for the right way to paint and so on. Once again, it's going to take some time. It doesn't have to be, it cannot be, to me, it cannot be, just right away. So it's also the amount of time I'm going to spend on that painting that's going to give the richness of the matter, of the quality of the colors and so on. So as you can see, I already reduced the scale, the size of my brush. I started with a really large brush. Now I'm feeling like I need to, to switch to a smaller brush in order to get into more details. I usually work on white background canvases, but for this series particularly, because that yellow is really powerful and it's kind of a link with the 4 portraits. So I prime my canvas with some yellow acrylic, that I had in the studio. So the 4 canvases will be the same color, the same background. So basically, the good thing as well is that I don't have to paint everything. Definitely going to leave the background this way because I think that yellow is really powerful and beautiful. So once again, right now I'm just locating, I'm just mapping. So basically I'm thinking, so where is the center of the eye? Where is the eyebrow? Where is the tip of the nose? Where is the mouth? Where is everything? And I cannot get too close to any detail right now because it's a little bit like you build a house. I mean, if you start by putting the handles on the door in a house, you're not gonna make it. At the end, you'll have the handles on the doors, but you don't even know where are the doors. So right now, I'm building the foundation. So basically, I'm pouring concrete. It's nothing like a house right now, but I have the idea of the house. So making a painting is a little bit the same process where you have a vision. And you just build, rock by rock, piece of wood by piece of wood. And of course, it's going to take a while to build a house. It's pretty interesting for me as well to look at me painting. It's interesting how the color come together. It's funny because "Come Together" is a really good song, actually. Right now, over me. Yeah, I told you I'm a big fan of the Beatles. Their songs have crossed the time, and there's actually a reason for that, I believe. And it's a little bit the same thing for painting. If you follow the mood, if you follow the fashion, you're just a follower. When it comes to the Beatles, of course, they were creators. So you see, I've covered pretty much all the face. There's no more yellow really that appear. That was my first goal. It was to get rid of the yellow. So when I will come back tomorrow and work again on the painting, I will start really working on the skin tone and positioning all the, further details like eyes and nose and so on. What I can do as well, and what I like to do is just to put the painting aside for a little bit, work on the other ones, and I will come back on this one. So, I'm going to start working on the other paintings, the other Beatles. So I got my coffee. I'm an happy camper. As you can tell, I didn't really clean my palette. I'm still working on the color of the other. You see that the blue came up because I was working on the outfit of another Beatles that had a blue outfit. So I don't have to clean my palette all the time. I like to clean my palette often because it's almost like resetting my brain. It's not only about the color themselves. It's also about the discipline of remaking a color. Sometimes we get a little bit lazy and we like to use the colors we have on a palette, like almost like, like we feel like, we have to use them, not to throw them away. That's not a good thing to do. I don't think so. I think sometimes it's nice just to, you take your piece of clothes and you just, clean up the palette and start from scratch. So I'm still working on day first. It's a nice way to to put some more things on the painting and to go on a little bit. You need to have a feeling about what you're doing. It's once again, don't be too frustrated if you cannot make it right away. It takes some time. It takes some, it's like basically it's like any kind of thing you're doing. If you play music, if you practice sport, like playing tennis, nobody can take a racket, go on the tennis court and just play amazingly. So it's a lot of training. But you need to have fun. That's really something I really want you to consider. The goal is not necessarily to end up with the same painting than me. Remember, I've been painting for many, many, many years. So of course, I guess my skill now, my level of skill is higher than most people because, of course, I've been training so much. So most of the thing I want you to learn. It's not necessarily about making a great painting. It's also about understanding how to make a painting. The first paintings you do might be really good, but they might not be that great either. Don't get frustrated. Don't get upset. Don't get, if it doesn't really look like Ringo, of course it matters and you will get to that point, but, little by little, it's one step at a time. The other thing that is really, and I will say that over and over again, there's nothing you cannot move. There's nothing you cannot correct. There's nothing you cannot erase. There's nothing you cannot paint over. A lot of people, a lot of painters, some that I've met, they do something and they have almost like hard time to erase what they've done or to correct what they've done, almost like it's precious, or they feel maybe that their time is cannot be waste. Be reassured. Painting is a total waste of time. It's part of those things that it's not something that is vital, even if it's essential for the the humanity to have art. But it's not something. You're not obliged to have some good result and so on. It's about you at some point. It's about you learning and experiencing that fascinating thing that is just with color ending up creating something, an image. Yeah, right now it doesn't look like at all as Ringo, but it's okay. It looks like something. And you see, there's almost like a cartoonish aspect to the painting. Actually, it reminds me of some portrait of Cézanne, where he's painting so much on the canvas. I remember the portrait of that man reading the newspaper, and it's almost done like with a palette knife because it's so thick. The concept of finishing a painting is something strange. On this particular project, of course, it's about the Beatles. So my goal is to make a portrait that looks like Ringo. Now, for some other project I'm doing, sometimes the likeness is not the point. So sometimes I get portrait, I get faces that are much more serving the cause of the painting I'm trying to make by not looking like the model. Sometimes I use photos. I use photos of real models, just as something that give me information about light and so on. Of course, on that series, particularly of the Beatles, I want that series to look like a Beatles. If it looks like the Rolling Stone, I know a lot of people are going to be really mad at me. So I feel I can still work. I'm still not completely in the mud, so I can still bring something on the canvas without being completely overworking what I've already done. So once again, I'm mapping the big scale, the big patches of colors. I'm not trying to get into details. It's way too early. All I'm trying to do right now is trying to, you know, getting the things as close as they will be, the position, like for example, that piece of light I'm working on right now on the right cheek, I want to define it. It's almost like a triangle, and it goes up in the eye and dance and ended up with that little white and a little sparkle on the eye. When you do that, try to make the face simple shape. Like his face is really triangular. It's like a triangle, and you can reduce things that are too complex to simple shapes. That might help you a lot. And so try to define that face, not thinking it's a nose, it's a mustache, it's a eyebrow, it's a haircut or whatever. Just try to think triangle, square, circle, and right now just put the thing really simply. Really try to simplify as much as you can the complexity of things. The tricky part as well of those portraits are the colors. They're not really natural, but it's okay. We'll figure something. Like the orange of his skin and the white are a lot of contrast. Um, but I will follow that because I think that that's something really interesting actually. So my palette is actually a piece of porcelain, tile. So I can scratch it, I can clean it. I usually like to work on white, or kind of neutral palette. Don't take a palette that is, the colors are so strong it's going to alterate or damage the color you're putting on it. So mine is not, as you can tell, the center now is turning into some sort of gray because I've been using it quite a lot. So now it's some sort of a patina in the center. And don't hesitate to exaggerate the colors at the beginning. Work oversaturated. Work with the maximum power colors you can. You will have time to just calm them down. Once again, we can put a little glaze of blue on top of an orange or something, and it's going to desaturate them. Right now, I'm just having fun with the colors. And actually, the original photo, as I said, is really colorful. So as you can see, I'm using pretty much the same brush now. It's a tiny brush, not that tiny, but flat brush, and I'm cleaning it in the turpentine quite often, and just go in the palette to refill with new colors and so on. So I'm using that little container of turpentine where I dip my brushes in and clean it. Basically, you don't see it on the screen, but I have a piece of cloth in my left hand, so I'm right-handed. So I paint with the right hand, mix the color on the right, look at the image on the left, and wipe off the brush in the cloth I have in my left hand. The shadow of the brush is also something pretty important. So as you can see, there's several shadows on my easel, and I'm always trying to have no shadows coming from the left because, of course, because I'm right-handed, my eyes look at the brush from the left. I've been working on the painting for about 20 minutes now, which as a starter, I think is, pretty okay. But once again, I work pretty fast. So usually, I'm going to work between 20 and 30 minutes, usually on the first day on the painting, depending, the black and white Beatles was shorter, but because black and white, there's less information. The more information, the more time it's going to take me to paint. So obviously I'm not happy with the right eye, it's the left eye. It is left eye, but I'm going to say the eye on the right. Once again, I can move it. If I'm not happy, if I misplaced it at the beginning, just move it. Because if I go on with an eye that is not at the right place, there's no way I can get the likeness. So I'd rather change and get the likeness than just stick with something that is not right. And at some point, anyway, I will pay the price. I will have to redo it. So I'd rather do it now. It's a little bit like being the captain of the Titanic. So basically, to move your ship and change direction, it's going to take quite a lot of time. So it's little by little. And in order to avoid the big iceberg, as you go on, just correct yourself. Just always judge what you've done and correct it. Don't try to make something. Try to correct what you've done. It's a different way to think. Once again, if you're trying to paint the eye and to make it perfect and so on, there's a lot of chance that you're going to really struggle because it's difficult. And secondly, I think we're losing something really interesting when we do that, which is the magic of things appearing. Like the brushwork for me, when people paint. I see some portrait painter working really area by area, like they focus on an eye and they increase the size of the eye and they paint with a tiny brush and do all the little details and so on. I don't do that. And I will explain why, for me, I already said it, but it's almost like you see a friend in the street and in a matter of 1 second, it's your friend because you recognize the way he walks, the face, there's something that just make you feel like in a matter of a glimpse, it's your friend. So it's about the same thing with the painting. It's about trying to find that thing. Okay, I feel I'm pretty much, done for the day. So I'm going to work on another one. Okay, the night was good. I'm coming back to the studio this morning, and I'm happy. I'm happy because I'm going to do something different. Because I'm going to go further. I'm now, as I get closer and closer, there's something more and more satisfying, of course. That whole voiceover process is kind of strange because I've tried to record myself what I was painting and make the comments live, as I'm painting, but it's really difficult because um, doing what I'm doing right now takes a little bit of focus, so I have to strangely, it's not about overthinking. It's actually trying to see things for what they are, and it takes discipline, because our brain has a tendency to trick us. My brain wants to scream, "That's a nose you're painting. That's an eyes you're painting." And if I do that, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fail because it's too much. It's too much pressure. It's too much information. There's so many informations on that portrait when you think about it. When you look at the image on the left and you look at all the passage, all the variation, all the colors, all the subtleties in the changing of colors, just the left eye, which is his right eye. There's so much going on there. So I don't want to overload myself with like right now I'm working on the color. It just, for me, just a little bit of fun. It's just a little bit of going away from the face. I'm just dancing around. Don't hesitate. When you're painting like this, you just can pause the video. You can pause it and you go for a little walk. You look through your window. You pet your cat or your dog. You sit. You drink some water. You look away. You breathe. You just enjoy the time. Painting is a privilege, definitely. So, I'm still ADD. I'm working pretty much everywhere at the same time, sometimes on the chin, sometimes on the nose, sometimes on the lips, sometimes. So I just move around. The reason why I do that as well is to reset my eye, to refresh it. So if I look at something too much, I end up not seeing it anymore. And I'm pretty sure you will experience that where, you paint an eye and at some point you're just like, oh my gosh, I don't see it anymore. I don't see anything anymore. Just move away. Just look at something else in the painting, on the canvas, just to reset your vision. What you can do as well, which is a really interesting thing, is to take some paper, pretty cheap paper, whatever, and then you can start the painting several times. Like just train yourself to start the painting, to unleash your own shyness, kind of starting large and so on. Because I know it can be a little bit impressive to take a large brush and paint fast. Actually, that was a really good exercise we were doing in art school, which was doing really quick sketches, like 30 seconds, 1 minute. So it's not about necessarily getting more skilled. It's just about getting less scared. So as the painting dries, the passage, to get rid of the brushwork, the strong brushwork, and to make the passage more smooth, that helps a lot to work on a dry painting. When I was a younger painter, when you're in art school and this kind of thing, sometimes you just want to do a painting in one session. Basically, you start, you finish in the same time. It took me a while to learn how to paint on several sessions, and now I really enjoy it. So as you can see, I'm covering things. I was working in the neck. Now I'm working on the eye. sometimes when I have some color on the palette, like that orange, I know that orange is in several places. So you can definitely work, with your brush around. There will be a time where, usually I always try to change the color that I'm using each time I go to the palette. So it's, once again, I talked about resetting my thoughts or my vision. It's part of that process. So you see, I'm moving things like obviously I have a problem with the eyes. I mean, it's not a problem. It's just I'm not there yet. So I just touched the eye a little bit, moved away, painting something else, just to put my brain in a place where I forgot what I saw, and I'm going to be able to get back to the eye. So at the end of at the end of each session, when I'm done, I'm cleaning my palette. So I keep that surface where I mix the colors, which is also a little bit like my like when you cook, you have that place in the kitchen where you could cut the food and do things like this. So the center of my palette is like this. So I like to keep it clean. So I dip a little bit of the clothes I have in turpentine and just wipe it off. So the way I teach is a little bit more about sharing than teaching. Actually, it's about sharing. My idea about painting. I don't believe like getting tricks is something really that will lead you somewhere, because we always if you learn tricks, then you're just limited by your tricks. It's almost like a magician. It's if you know 10 tricks, 10 tricks. You don't know 50. So after you have to learn new tricks, which it's possible, but it's still tricks. Like I love Bob Ross as because I think I saw his video when I was my first trip in the US. I think I was 13 years old, and I thought, wow, that's amazing. Of course, now I look at it like not this way at all, because it's a series of tricks. It's a series of thing. Or can you do a tree, for example, with a big brush, and you just pop pop pop, and then you have those that feeling of leaves and so on. I don't think painting. I don't think painting is that. I mean, actually, anyway, the way I envision painting. So what I'm trying to do is not to show you tricks like how do you paint hair, or do you mustache, or do you paint an eye, and so on. No, all I'm trying to do is for you to understand that everything is connected, and as long as you try to transfer what you see on the canvas, then you can paint anything. Bob Ross would have had trouble to teach portraiture, because I'm not sure the tricks he was implying, they were great to make trees and forest and lakes and mountains and landscapes, but surely still life as well, because you can imply use those tricks in your paintings, but I think tricks have their own limits. And once again, I have the time. You have the time. If you have to pause the video, if you want to walk around or do something else, it's okay. And the other thing as well, if there's something, what I would like more is for you to understand the process. So this painting is going to take me. I've been working on that painting now for about 34 minutes, 33 minutes. And to be at that stage of the painting, it might take you 2 hours. It might take you more or less. I don't know. It's not the problem. The problem is, once again, try to learn how to see the things and connect them and so on. Therefore, you can paint anything. It's I was saying in another video, I was saying that when you paint a tree, if you paint that tree, is as difficult as doing a portrait. Now, if you paint a tree, any tree, if you basically don't look at the tree you're painting, but you look more at your painting than the tree, then of course the tree you're painting is not going to be the tree you're looking at. And I'm not sure it's the right way to do things. I think it's painting is almost like a spiritual experience, about admitting that we don't know everything, about admitting that we have the possibility of doing anything as long as we are blunt and as long as we take the time to do it, and just experiencing that relationship with the complexity of things, and how we can translate that complexity and try to work around to make it look like understandable by other people. What can also work for abstract work. So what I'm doing right now could be translated as well into an abstract painting. Let's say, if we take something pretty complicated, like, I don't know, a rock we find on the beach or something, and there's tons of colors in it. You can do a portrait of that rock and turn it into an abstract painting, and the process would be the same as what I'm doing right now with that portrait. So as you can see, the painting is building up. It's rising. It's details after details. I get closer and closer to the rendering I want to obtain. Now the size of my brush is pretty tiny. I might stay with that size now, because of course now it's more about the scale of the brushwork is getting smaller. That same, the mental process of painting is still the same than when I start first. You know what I mean, when I first started. So it's always about judging, placing, mapping, and correcting myself. If you have followed the black and white portrait of Ringo or the other Beatles, this one is going to take longer time. The process is the same. Once again, the process is not different. Painting in black and white or painting in color, to me, it's the same. The truth is, because of color, because of the complexity of color, because of the number of colors I have to put together, of course, it's much more complex than the black and white. But the process is exactly the same. It actually start looking like Ringo. Now, the thing that's going to make me go on is my demand, is my capacity to see my own mistakes. Sometimes we don't see them. It's like in life. Some people, sometimes they don't see when they do something wrong or not, not what they want to do. I guess it's mostly about, raising a higher stage of what we want to do. It's about, doing a portrait like this and as I said, in about 38 minutes. If I had been able to do that when I was 20, I would. If I know, at 20 I could do things like this. I would have been really like, wow, I'm pretty good. Now I'm looking at that and I'm not feeling this way. I'm feeling there's so much more I can do. I have to learn so much more in order to be even better. So it's not about looking what you can do. It's about looking at what you could do if you put more time and more demand. And of course, the satisfaction is higher. It's a little bit like when you play the music. The more you play, the better you get at it. The more you're demanding, the more you understand, the more you're it's music, it's food as well. If you talk to a chef, he's gonna it's almost like they taste more than us. It's almost like they can feel the food more than So it's about education. It's about initiation. So just be kind to yourself. It takes a while, and don't hesitate to look at the master. Don't hesitate to go into the books and look and try to understand the process. You would be surprised to see that a lot of great masters, they were painting actually pretty quickly. So you see now my brush is pretty tiny. Actually, I have two brushes. So I have this one and I have another one. I'm pretty sure I have two brushes in my left hand. Sometimes I have three. Sometimes it's not necessarily the same color. Sometimes there's a brush that is for the yellow, another one for the orange, another one for the brown. So I switch from brush to brush. Some colors are more fragile than others. Yellows are really fragile. What I mean by that is that if you want to keep a real yellow, like really bright yellow, you need to have a brush that is clean. You need to have a turpentine that is pretty clean as well. You cannot have a dirty brush and hope that the yellow is not going to be affected by what you have on your brush. I'm always mesmerized by the painting of Van Gogh because he was painting outdoor, he was painting plein air, and he was still capable of keeping those yellow almost pure. So I guess he had a brush just dedicated for yellow. So if your brush is dirty or whatever, and you get some yellow, the yellow is going to turn into a brown or something, kind of dirty. So don't hesitate to clean your brush, to wipe it off in the clothes, to clean it a couple of times before you use yellow. Or it's the same thing for white. White can be alterated really quickly by colors. While there's some other colors that are more resilient, like the blues or the red. They don't really, they're more forgivable. The thing as well, I didn't talk about, but I'm going to start, talking about that is the quality of the pigment, the quality of the color. You have some colors that are really, really strong. What I mean by that is that if you take a little tiny bit of colors of that color on your brush and you mix it with other color, they're going to take over the rest. They're going to cover the rest of the palette. I remember there's a special red. I don't remember the name, but it's a red I hate to use because if you put just a tiny bit of that red, it turns everything red. I'm using mostly the cheapest color I can find in the art store. The reason why I do that is, it's like when you drive. I mean, there's if the car is more, if it's not a race car, and it's kind of easier to drive. I mean, if you're driving, like a Formula One or a Ferrari, I mean, any mistakes can be. It's challenging. While with colors a bit cheaper, I mean, I feel like I have more control over the colors. So if your color are to good quality, it can't really, it might not help you actually to get the skin tones and to get all that subtleties in the colors, because if you add a tiny bit of color and it changes completely the color you have on your palette, then it's going to be difficult to figure out those colors. So as you see on my palette on the right, so I have this gradient of colors. So I have the white, the yellow, and I'm talking in the center when I'm mixing the colors. And I go from yellow to that orange. So, I can create a little pool of colors in the center of my palette with more saturated, less saturated, and so on. So just by moving my brush into that, I can pick up the color I want. You will notice as well, I don't, I see sometimes people mixing, starting a painting by mixing a lot of colors and putting somewhere, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I keep my saturated color around my palette, and I'm just using the center of the palette as a laboratory to try colors and so on. And, and once again, once in a while, I'm just wiping up the whole thing. That helped me to reset the palette and my thoughts. So it's been about 44 minutes now, and I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing right now. Obviously, I'm not done for some reason. When you face the painting, once again, you're the one who decide when you're done or not. But I'm getting there. I still see a lot of things that need to be, ameliorated or improved. But I almost feel now, right now, that second, I almost feel like, maybe it's time for me to take a break and to let it sit for a little bit and come back with a fresh eye. You see, I'm hesitating. I'm kind of turning around now, turning in circle and just saying, okay, yeah. So I'm taking a break. So basically what has happened during that break, I worked on 3 other paintings. I worked on the 3 other portraits for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. So I haven't worked on that painting for like 2 hours now. So 2 things. First, the painting melt into when I'm saying melt, the painting get into the old painting. So it's not dry wet yet, but it's drier than it was like 2 hours ago. So, I'm still working in the fresh paint, but it's easier now because, as I said, the turpentine has kind of evaporated. So now the pigments are more, into the old painting. So it's easy for me to work on it. So pretty much it's an endless process. What you can do once you will be done with that video, or or with one session or whatever, you take a book about Da Vinci, or you go on your computer and you look at the Mona Lisa, at the Joconde, and you look at the brushwork on her face and so on in the background, and it's going to give you some idea about the incredible talent and the incredible intelligence that Da Vinci had about putting those things together, and nothing pops out. Everything is so deeply connected to the rest. I think, I will definitely, during the course of lessons I'm going to do online, I will do some copies of master. One of the few people that are really not funny to copy. You have Vermeer, you have Da Vinci, you have people like this, because the way they work is so, they disappear so much behind their painting that it's difficult to get to that point. It's not only about copying the painting; it's also about having the humility, the incredible humility of those guys. If you put something, it can happen. Sometimes we not sometime, often actually, when we overdo things, sometimes we just go on the other side of the, like a Sisyphus pushing the rock on top of the hill. Sometimes we push it too hard, and the rock wall on the other side, and we feel like we've messed up the portrait, like it's gone, the likeness is gone, everything is gone, it looks like nothing. Just calm down, just breathe, just walk away for a minute, just be gentle to yourself. Don't be mad at yourself for doing something that you lose the likeness or the line. Like, for example, right now you see I'm looking at that painting, and there's this really harsh line on the right cheek. The cheek which is on the left. You see, it's almost like he is not shaved between the light that is on the cheekbone and that darker brown that is on the jaw. So I'm seeing that right now, and I'm just like, why don't I see it, and don't I fix it? The thing is, maybe I don't see it. Maybe I'm not seeing it right now because I'm just working. And sometimes, when you work for a long time, wait, you see? Finally, I saw it. It's why being ADD sometimes helps. The capacity of working on several things at the same time. Because of course everything is connected. Like the light on the right, on his cheek on the right side, that light is so yellow orange, while the left side is really white. And it's about judging those colors. Actually, the white on the left cheek, to me, is pink. It's not white. And on the color theory video I've done, I'm talking about contrast, simultaneous contrast. And actually, that white will be more powerful if I make it a little bit pink than if I make it, yellow or white. I'm not there yet, but I would not be surprised. I think if I remember, I think I put some pink on that area, just because the pink is a color, and you don't make light with white. You know, white is white, but the light is more about the color. If you look at the Impressionist, if you look at Monet and so on, the path that is, the trail that is in the sun, where the sun is, beautiful and so on, and the shadows, actually the trail is orange and the shadows are blue, and it's not the trail is white and the shadows are black. It's more colors. The color will give you more rendering of light than black and white. So if I have to define a little bit my style, or the way I paint, I think the way I paint is mostly Spanish school, Italian school from the 17th century. In the way the brushwork work, I'm not really like the German painter who have a tendency to make the brushwork disappear. I'm talking about Unsolbein or people like this. My style for portraiture is more like Spanish, 17th century. So you see now it's really, it's more and more about the details. I'm still working on some larger surfaces like, the colors, the lights and so on. But, as you change of scale, as you get closer and closer to the final result, of course, the scale of your brushwork and the scale of the intervention you're going to do on the painting gets smaller and smaller. It's incredible to see how much changing the position of something by a tenth of an inch on a portrait, on a face, can change completely the likeness of the person. So you have to find that balance between things. It's not about finding exactly where that thing is, because, at the end, we could just project that portrait, copy it perfectly, working like, square inch by square inch. Actually, the Jeff Koons is doing some really large copies of really classical painters, and he has people doing it for him. So he has those painters who works hours and hours, and the way they work, they print the size of 8 by 11 inches. They print that thing. The canvas is huge. The canvas is 8 feet by 10 feet, and they work on that thing, on that little piece, and that little piece needs to be exactly the copy of the 8 by 11 they have. How I feel about that? Obviously, I think Jeff Koons is an amazing artist, or actually his impact on the art world has been tremendous. So, at the end of the day, that's really what matters. But for me, the way I work is different. I don't want to, I could basically have a copy perfectly, a photo of the painting of the portrait of Ringo, and just working with the portrait really close to the painting and just trying to copy the image. It's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do a painting. I'm not trying to do a copy of a photo. So those paintings are not really my work, like what I do for my personal work. They're more exercise, and I think they're fun to share that with you, because maybe you're going to enjoy doing it as well, or you're just going to enjoy watching me doing it. So for me, this is not art really. It's more training camp kind of. I learned a lot when I do things like this. First of all, it's pretty fun. But I don't necessarily consider that as a piece of art. For me, it's more like it's more like a training. It's more like it's fun, because when I do things like this, I'm learning through things like this. Actually, lately I've done for a friend of mine, I've done a painting a copy of a really famous abstract painter. That's what he wanted, and blah blah blah. So anyway, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot through the process of doing abstract painting. It was not abstract like it was abstract like almost like minimalistic. So almost like color field. So you tape and you paint, almost like you would paint a living room. And but still, the process was interesting. Still, I learned things, about the relationship between the color and the surface, about the scale, about things like this. So I know that some people teach, and it's almost that they lead you by the hand, and they tell you, oh, you do that little thing here and that little thing there. It's not the way I see painting. The way I see painting is about freedom, and I do believe actually that the people who are going to love the work of someone else, it's because they're living vicariously through that person. So they cannot necessarily have your skill or your freedom. And when you show that, they just enjoy sharing that adventure with you. So it's not necessarily about being impressed or saying, oh my gosh, the painting is, it's so well done or whatever. Sometimes it's all about, oh my gosh, there's life into it. And for me, life is more important than skill. So I don't mind if the painting you're doing, if you're painting with me right now, I don't mind if it doesn't look like Ringo. I don't mind if it's orange or yellow. Maybe you're working with blue. Maybe you're working with, just make the painting yours, and have fun and just enjoy it and just feel alive. If you feel alive and you have a good time, I will be more excited than if you're capable of doing the same thing than me. Because, that's my story. You have to find your story. And your story is just there. You just have to listen to you. Don't try to be someone else. Don't try to paint like me. Try to paint like you. Maybe with my help, because I can maybe help you or give you the strength or the courage to admit who you are. But basically, if you can paint with honesty, with humility, with love, there's no way your painting is going to look bad. In a contemporary art world where not everything, but a lot of things have to be justified, like they talk about the statement or things like this. Sometimes, looking at what I'm doing right now, I feel like good. I feel like it's interesting. It's like when you go fishing. Going fishing, that's an interesting thing. I mean, basically, you can go to the supermarket and buy some fish. It's going to take you 10 minutes. While if you go fishing, it's going to take you hours, and you're not even sure you're going to bring back fishes. So there might be something more than catching fishes when people go fishing. And I think it's the same thing when you paint. When you paint, it's not about making a beautiful paint. I mean, if you want to become a professional painter and make a living with art, that's a different vision. For me, of course, it's my job, kind of. So for me, there's something like this. But at the end of the day, for me, being in the studio and painting is, I would not say it's a therapy, because sometimes maybe it's too it's too caricatural. But definitely, it's something that make me connected to the world and make me love the world even more. So I'm getting close to an hour of painting. Does it look like Ringo? Yeah, it looks more like Ringo than like Mickey Mouse or something else. But I still have work to do. I feel like my eyes are getting tired. I'm moving things gently, small. But I feel a little bit right now that I might be too sure of what I've done is right, while there's so many things that are wrong. So I might have to take a break. And I feel like, okay, maybe I will come back on that painting tomorrow. Okay, here's the guy. So now I have the full portrait of the Beatles in the studio. I can give you some feedback about the other ones. I'm really struggling with Paul. For some reason, I think it's more difficult. And but those ones are, so remember I told you about the pink. That's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, why? If I was taking some yellow and to make the light on the yellow, you have to make a lighter color. Yellow is already a really light color, so lighter than yellow, pretty much it's white. And as I told you, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure we don't make light with white, but with color. So by going on, a little bit off the yellow and doing some pink, actually that pink is going to bring light more than if I was doing the same thing with yellow and white. So now I feel like, at some point it's pointless to work for hours and hours and hours. Sometimes it's more important to come on a painting. What you can do is you turn the painting against the wall so you don't see it, you forget about it. And, you put it back on the easel, and sometime in like 10 seconds, you know what's wrong, what's off or what you don't like. Then you can fix it for like 5-10 minutes. But we have a tendency to think we're better than what we are sometimes. And sometimes we go on working while we have nothing to say. As I'm getting closer and closer to the likeness and to the painting, I have less and less volume of thing to say, but the thing I have to say are more important. So sometimes it's just one word, and that's exactly what's going on. So now I'm looking at it, and you see that, it takes me more time to paint, because of course now the what I have to say is more subtle. You can use your finger to blend colors. I usually eat everything with a fork and a knife, so I'm not a big touchy guy with my fingers, but sometimes on the painting it drives me nuts. So I just I take my finger and just, smear it. Oh, see, I messed up. So now I messed up with white. So you see that the white has, it's spread out. So now I have a little gray on the right eye. So I'm just it's a good thing about letting the painting dry, because the under layer are dry, so I can just take the clothes and just wipe off what I've done wrong. There's another trick, and we'll go through that. I will tell you again and again about that, because that's an amazing trick. So basically, the reason why we feel different when we watch videos of ourselves, it's because when we look at ourselves in a mirror, we don't see ourselves, we see ourselves reversed, right? So that means our right eye in the mirror is on the right, while when we look at a video, the right eye is on the left. You know what I mean? Anyway, something like this. So basically, when we look, we're so used to look at ourselves in a mirror that when you look at ourselves in a video, we just feel like it's not ourselves. It's like when you're listening to your voice, the recording of your voice. Sometimes you're just like surprised by the sound of your voice. So what I use when I do portraiture, or when I do faces and so on, I use a mirror. I do that sometimes also with other paintings, but mostly with portraiture. And I look at the painting I'm doing in the reflection of the mirror. It's almost like I'm looking at the painting for the first time. So it really reset my eye. It's really reset my vision. So what you can do when you work on a painting like this is to have a small mirror and you look at your painting once in a while. Don't do it too often, because if you do it often, you're going to get used to it, and then you won't see the painting anymore. Because sometimes we're so convinced about what we're doing that even if an eye is too high or too much on the right, or the cross eyes and so on, we don't see it because we get so used to the image we're painting. So don't hesitate once in a while to use a mirror. It might help you to reset that and to see your painting almost like with a fresh new eye. So you might think I'm working over and over again on the same thing. Like, for example, that cheekbone, I've been painting that thing like 20 times already. Each time I'm getting closer. So it's not like I'm painting, it's not like I'm just overpainting things. I don't. I'm just modifying them to be closer and closer to the real thing, because all those colors harmony, all those colors changes, all those, the way the colors melt into each other and so on, is so complex. It's so complex that, it takes a lifetime to make it perfect. Like when I look at Vermeer, the girl with the pearl, I was doing a little video about that, and I was making that a copy of that painting, and that painting is absolutely awful to copy because it's so subtle. It's so subtle. The other thing, and I mentioned it in another video, there's people who are easier to paint than other. Like usually men are easier to paint than women and kids, because the feature on the face are more, they are more brutal, they're more strong, like men, like for example, Ringo has a nose that is, pretty funny, not funny, but pretty interesting to paint, because it's not like a baby nose. He has a real, there's a real shape to his nose, there's a real shape to his face. He has those thick lips and so on. So when you pick up the model you want to paint, painting kiddos is really difficult. I see a lot of people who tell me, I want to do the portrait of my kids or my grandkids and so on. That's difficult. And the other problem is that the parents can be really upset if you don't do a nice portrait of their kids. Same thing. I'm getting closer and closer. Now it's really tiny details. I still see so many things that needs to be modified and improved and so on. I just messed up that little thing. What should I do? Oh, you see, I'm taking some brown, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get into that little dot I've done on the edge of the eye. Like here, yeah, it's not good. I've been working on that eye forever. I mean, not forever, but Okay, I'm going to take a break. I think I need to just reset the eyes. So my coffee was really good. I hope yours was too. So once again, during that little break, I don't recall if I drank a coffee, whatever. Definitely, I walked outside, I breathed, but I also work on the 3 other portraits, which helps because when I put this painting back on the easel, because I've been focusing so much on the 3 other ones, it's almost like I forgot this one. So now my eyes are brand new, and I'm seeing so many things that are wrong and not, like, that little sparkle in the eye, Jim, it's gone. The eyebrow, too thin. That line is not good. Where else? Oh, this line is not good. It's not good. It's not good. Boom. I'm just erasing half of an inch of his cheekbone. I'm like a plastic surgeon. So don't hesitate to modify things that don't work. Don't think because you spend 2 or 3 or 4 hours on something, it should stay this way. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Change it. Always improve. The reason why also it's important to do that is because it's going to help you for your next painting. Because your next painting, you're going to be more demanding. And the more demanding you're going to be with yourself, the more you're going to give the best of yourself. Once again, when you think it's enough, it's usually because it's not enough. There would be a point, the magical point, where the painting doesn't belong to you anymore. What I mean by that, there should be a moment in time where when you paint, you feel like you've done your best, you've given your best. And when you reach that point, it's almost like you cannot touch the painting anymore. First, because you don't see it anymore, and secondly, because it's almost like out of you. It's almost like it's on its own way. So once again, that painting for me is not like something that important in my work. Maybe it will be. Maybe I will do something with that. I don't know. For me right now, it was all about, okay, I need to do some videos of me painting. What can I paint? Painting celebrities, or and the Beatles are really good guys. So painting that was fun, and it's once again, is it really part of my work? I don't know. You don't have to do only masterpieces and so on. Sometimes you can just train. Like a lot of musicians, they train. A lot of piano player, they sit at the piano in the morning and they play for like 2 hours, and they don't make necessarily art. They just keep their body, their fingers, their brain up to date, and they improve their skills and so on. So when they start really doing their own thing, doing really like I don't think a pianist can play concert every morning as a training. Sometimes it's just about playing chords and flexibility on the finger and so on. So you can do that as well with painting. You don't necessarily do painting to be hung up in your living room or in a gallery. Sometimes the painting can just be for you to improve your skill, to prepare for the next painting. Actually, it's it could be those 4 paintings of the Beatles. Maybe they're part of a future painting I'm going to do with the whole band together doing something else and so on. I don't know. I think there's something really magical actually about when you paint like this, and if you remember 3 days ago, an hour and 10 minutes ago as well, if I accumulate, if I add all the time I'm spending on that canvas, the canvas was all yellow, it was flat, and after 1 hour 10, I mean, that thing looks pretty impressive, I must say. So myself, I think a lot of painters, a figurative painter can feel the same, where you start with brushwork and it's brutal and it's just a sketch, and it's just like it's just nothing, and then you work, and at some point you have that thing. It's like a house builder. They coming on the field and there's nothing, and they come with some big tool. They start digging the ground, making some foundation with concrete, pouring the concrete with the rebars, then they pour the slab, then they start building the walls, and during the whole time you're looking at the thing and just like, okay, what is that? And then they start putting, I mean, we know it's a house, but I mean, it doesn't really look nice. And then they go on and on and on. And if it's a really high-end house, beautiful and so on, when they start doing the molding, when they start doing the crowning inside, when they start putting all the furnitures and so on, and at the end, you have a beautiful house. It's pretty much the same. The guy who started the foundation, who did the foundation, was as important as the guy who put the flowers in the vase in the middle of the table. So pretty much you're doing the same thing. It's just don't think one step is more important than the other one. And just keep in mind that everything is important. The bouquet of flowers on the table, but the foundation. Because if one thing is missing, the whole thing falls apart. So just be kind to yourself, just be gentle, and just allow yourself to experience that whole history, or that whole story, or that whole adventure of building a house. Yeah, I don't really know what to do anymore. What should I do? A break? So now I worked for about 6 minutes. Is that it? Yeah. The last session was 6 minutes of work. So 6 minutes might not look like a lot, but actually it's a lot when you really focus, when you're really tense, when you really, when you really is doing something where you put your whole energy. 6 minutes is 6 minutes is actually quite long. So you see, for example, I'm not going to overwork the air. I'm think I'm going to let them the way they are. Maybe I'm going to work on it a little bit. I don't know, but I think same thing when I do portraits, I really like to focus on the eyes because I think it's the most important thing. It's like when you talk with someone. You can observe yourself when you're talking with a friend. You look at your friend in the eyes. You don't look at his mouth. You don't look at his nose. You don't look at his clothes. You don't look at his shoes. You look in the eyes. So the eyes are definitely the most important thing. Now, if you work too much on something else, like if I was working too much on the ears or the hair or the clothes or so, I'm going to take away the attention from the eyes. And for me, if you look at my portraiture, you will see that most of the time the eyes are really what leads me because basically when I paint, my eyes go in the eyes. And now pretty much I'm working mostly on the eyes. So I don't know how you work. I don't know if you have, if you like to listen to music when you paint. I didn't put really any music on the videos because I wanted to leave you that option of putting, of listening to what you want. You can, after a while, you can even turn my voice off and just play the music you want. Maybe, the music I play is as or the sound I put in the studio. Sometimes I'm listening to the radio. Sometimes I'm some talk shows. Sometimes I'm listening to podcasts about art. Sometimes I'm listening to classical music. Sometimes I'm listening to AC/DC. It really depends. I like to use the music as some sort of or the sound in the studio as some sort of a vector about what's going on. It's part of the process. Sometimes there's no sound at all. Sometimes I like the silence of the studio. I already talked about that pink color that I'm using to do the highlights. If you think about it, the shape of his face is pretty simple. I mean, it's not simple, but now that we've been working on his face for a while, you can definitely, I'm sure you can definitely see some of the, those big structure I was talking about at the beginning, like the big shape, rectangle and so on, or square or circle. Try to, stay simple. For some reason, I didn't paint that beautiful flowers he has on his clothes, on his jacket. I messed up. You see, I did that line, and I think it's not okay. Maybe I'm going to leave it this way. It's funny, because now I'm looking at that video. I've done that painting about a week ago, and I could work on it again. So we are about 1 hour 18 of work. Once again, if that painting was really for a project, like if I really wanted to push it, I could work on it again. But I think for now it's okay. It's kind of a generic portrait of some famous guy. So but I'm pretty much done with the painting. Still some couple of things to touch here and there. As I say, we can work forever on this kind of paintings. So don't hesitate to send me the photos of the painting you've done of this one if you want to do it. That would be fun. And I hope I will see you soon for our next for the next episode. Okay, have a good day. Bye bye.